AgWeek weather is sponsored by Bremer Bank. Connect with a banker today at bremer.com.
Is this mild winter weather here to stay? Here's John with our Agri-weather outlook.
Looking over the end of January and the start of the month of February, the Arctic air is safe and secure up in the Arctic. It's not going to drop down, at least it doesn't look like it's going to drop down into the United States at all. In fact, it's staying up pretty far north for the time being. So what we have left is a lot of sort of cool air, and it's fairly widespread cool air, fairly common in this type of weather pattern, where further south it's a little cooler than average, and in the north it tends to be quite a bit warmer than average through the Great Plains. The south also, in addition to being a little bit cooler than average, a lot of rainy weather down there, and that will lead to some areas of significant snow in the northeast over the next couple of weeks. I'll show you where and when, and also out west in the mountains. But the northern plains, not going to see very likely much precipitation over the next couple of weeks. So we got kind of a mismatch of jet streams. I've really highlighted three areas of primary concern. The primary jet streams are this one and this one, the southern subtropical jet stream, which is going to keep mostly pretty far south as it does. There is also kind of a bit of a strengthening around the Arctic region, but it's staying pretty far north and not crashing. That's going to keep the frigid air up in pretty high latitudes and allow a lot of very mild air. Some of this, when I call it cool, that's mostly where days are above freezing, and some of this that's not marked is where you may get weather even into the 50s and 60s. So this is going to be some pretty warm air. Generally speaking, the Middle West will be a little too warm for snow for part of this week, but then we will see some cooler weather dropping down. And there may be, with this active jet stream pattern, a few visitations, one each week probably, of a chance of freezing rain with snow on the northern side and rain down in the south. Out west, looks like the snows will be piling up in the Rocky Mountains with this particular weather pattern, and eventually there'll be a chance to get some of that precipitation to work into the Pacific Northwest. But we will continue to keep the cold weather up north, the south generally kind of cooler than average, and the north being cool, actually that translates to warmer than average. Now, as I mentioned, precipitation, I expect the eastern seaboard to get at least one. It looks like early in this first week here toward the end of January. Snows will continue to build up in the Intermountain region. Rain's not really getting down into Southern California, but likely in British Columbia and perhaps down into the Seattle area. If it rains or snows in the Great Plains, it's going to be drizzle. It's just not going to be much of anything. As we look at the second week, now the first full week of February, there may be some stormier weather in the southern plains, some of that mixed precipitation, but I think we'll keep the northern plains fairly dry, while the eastern Midwest does look wet.